Hi there. What you are seeing is a real-world example of how data can bring clarity, raise awareness, and support informed decision-making during global crisis. This dashboard was built in Power BI and is accessible via a simple link, providing real-time insight to any viewer. Keep an eye on the figures. Each refresh updates the dashboard with the latest changes. All of this is made possible because the dashboard is the final data consumer in a well-structured data pipeline. It begins with data collection in the fields using forms created in Kobo Toolbox. Every time there is a new submission, the data is fetched through the Kobo API. Next, we use Python for the ETL extract, transform, and load process. This involves extracting the raw data, cleaning and transforming it, search by adding calculated columns, and then loading the refined data into a PostgreSQL database. Within the DB, the database, the data is analyzed to answer why questions and generate real-time Excel reports. From there, the clean and analyzed data is pushed to Power BI, where end users can simply refresh the dashboard to view the most up-to-date information without needing to understand the technical back end. Additionally, we will cover how to version control all code using Get for transparency, collaboration, and reproducibility. And we will configure cloud backups for the database using Google Drive, ensuring data safety and accessibility. This project demonstrates how data-driven solutions can tackle real-world challenges with global impact. By integrating multiple tools into a cohesive system, it enables real-time monitoring and supports informed decision-making. All the tools used in this project are freely available, and you are welcome to use and showcase this project in your portfolio. If for any reason you are unable to follow along, but you understand the importance of having a strong portfolio that showcases your skills, feel free to reach out to me via WhatsApp or email. As you can see, the website is still under development, but I'll be happy to share complete project files like this one to help you save time and build a portfolio that truly reflects your abilities. I can also go a step further by creating a personalized portfolio website for you using CAT or Google Sites, fully customized with your chosen projects and details, so you are completely ready to start applying for jobs with confidence. I'm also open to collaboration. If you have a project that requires data science, data analysis, or data engineering skills, don't hesitate to reach out. Whether you need support on a project or want me to join your team, I'm here for you. Let's get started. All right, the first thing is to go to your browser and type Kobo Toolbox. So you click on the first link and you click on create an account. So the account is the global Kobo Toolbox. So put your name, username, emails, everything. So for the username, don't put any space, you put the underscore. And for the email address, put a real email address because they are going to ask you to confirm that email address. For the country and sector, you can put any you want change. So you tick the box that says you accept, you agree to their terms and condition. Put a password that you remember, please. So once you are done, you can click on create an account. So you are good to go. Now check your email. You will see the message from Kobo Toolbox asking you to activate your account. So just click on the first link like this, but you can read through all the other stuff, but just click on the first link and then it confirms your account. So you can now log in using your username and password. Okay, so now you are good to go. So you just go to new, you click on build from scratch. Now we are going to create a form. Now it is asking you what is the project name. So I'm going to put Russia and Ukraine conflict. So for the sector, you can choose any one, but here I'm going to choose that security, police, and peacekeeping. So for the country, you can select any country. So once here, you can click on this plus to start creating the first question. So the first question is a date. For the data type of that date, I select date. I click on the plus again. I put the second question, which is country. For the country, I want just to select two. So I go to select one as data type and I put as value Russia and Ukraine, right? I can click here to hide everything. So by clicking on this eye, you can preview your form. This is our date. You see it has a calendar, and then the country, there are two options where you have to select only one. So I can click on the plus to add questions. So now the next question is the event. I also want it to be select one. So I'm going to put all the types of events that I think might happen. So not to waste time, so I'm going to go fast. Okay. So now we are good to go. We have all the events that might happen during the war. So I go to the next question. I go to the oblast. Oblast is the regions, but it's a term that they use in Ukraine. So for the oblast, let me put the hint. The hint means it is part of the question for the user to know what the question is about, and I put region. So now these are all the region or the oblast of Ukraine. Now the next question is the casualties or the death. So I put as data type number because the value is going to be number. The next question is the injured. I also put as data type number. So the next question is captured. So I also put as data type number. The next question is civilian casualties. So it's also as data type number. The next question is actually about the new um, the new recruit, right? So the data type is also number. So I'm going to the next question, which is going to be combat intensity. So for the combat intensity, I'm not going to put number but decimals because I want it to be decimals values. Now the next question is actually the territory status. So the territory status, I want it to be in terms of select only one, right? So they have option to select if the territory is occupied or it is not occupied, because there are some events like drone strike can happen to region, but the region is not occupied. But let's come back to the combat intensity. For the hints, I put on a scale of 0 to 10 for the user to know that this combat intensity is actually on a scale of 0 to 10. So the next question is percentage occupy. I want it to be number because I don't want it to put like decimals value. I just want numbers. So the next question is the area occupied, right? The area occupied is actually going to be the number. So for the hints, the question hints, I'm going to put kilometer square for the user to know that this area occupied is in terms of kilometer. So now for people not to skip some question, I'm going to go to setting and I put all questions mandatory, so that because I'm going to leave the form open for you who is watching the video to also be able to make submissions. So for that, I make all the questions mandatory, else people might like fill the form and then leave some questions blank. So for that, you just go to setting and then you tick mandatory response yes. So you can see here there's this star symbol icon that shows that the questions are mandatory now. So now I go to preview so I can put any data. You can see everything works correct. So you can select only one because as data type I put select one. Okay, everything seems to be okay. I know some of you might ask the question to know, why am I using these particular columns? During my investigation, I've got to know some of the columns that can actually help us to track this conflict, right? To be monitoring the conflict. So you see that if you want to submit without filling a question, it's going to pop up an error message because the questions are mandatory. So I click on save and then I make sure everything is good. Now for people to start using the form, I have to deploy. I just click on deploy and the form is deployed. Now I'm on form. This is very important. Collect data. Please put online, offline, multiple submission. It means that this form can be filled both online and offline, and one user can make multiple submission. Here I also tick the button that shows allow submission to this form without a username, right? So let me open the form by clicking on open. I'm going to put random data, but it's not actually random. The war started in 2014 where Russia invaded Crimea, right? Maybe I don't pronounce Crimea or Crimea, but it's something like that. So for the event, it was an annexion, right? And it was in the Oblast of Crimea. For the casualties, actually, please, every data I'm putting are not accurate data. They are just not completely random data, but they are just what I've found out in my investigation. It might be false. So from your end, if you know what is going on in the conflict, the form is open. You can make your submission for the database to have quite accurate data. Okay, so everything is okay. Let me submit. You can see the form is submitted. I can go to the form and you can see I've made 3 submission. I've just okay, so now we can see all the submission I've made so far. So let's go to GitHub right now. So you just click on the link, is in the description. uh Now we are going to sign in, right? So you put your email, your password, username and everything. Please put accurate details. So me, I'm always going to put data professional because it's the name of the YouTube channel. So once I'm done, they are going to actually verify your account by using a puzzle, right? This puzzle is quite tricky because you have to put the object where the finger is pointing. So please take your time. Okay, so I'm done. I don't want the video to be too long. So once you are done, they are going to send you an email address with a confirmation code, right? Just put that code to confirm your email address. Once it is done, you can now sign in to GitHub. So I'm just going to put the email address. You can put either the email address or the username. And I'm going to put my password. So from your end, please put your own details. Once you are signing, what you have to do is to actually click on create repository. So now we are going to create what we call repository. Repositories in GitHub are like folders. So each folder is going to have one project. So before that, let's go to your browser and you click on the link of Python. So let's download Python. So if you are using Windows, you can download the Windows versions depending on your computer. Okay, so you open the downloaded Python. So make sure you tick the 2 boxes and then you go to custom. So here make sure everything is ticked. But for this one, just click on the first one, install Python 3.13. And then you install. Me, I'm not going to install because I've already installed Python. Now you go to cmd command prompt, you type python // version. You are going to see the version of your Python. This is just to make sure that you have successfully downloaded Python. The next thing to download after you have downloaded Python is VS Code. There are a lot of extension you can use to actually read Python, like Jupyter, IDI, but me, I'm going to use VS Code. So just click here and you click on window if you have a window system. So once the downloading is over, once again, I'm going to stop the downloading because I've already installed VS Code. Once VS Code is installed, you can come here and search for the app. This is VS Code here. Once you are here, you can go to File, you go to New File. It's going to ask you the extension. So you can either choose Python or Jupyter. Me, I like clicking on Jupyter. So now you can write print and then you put into brackets, you put the code, you write anything. For most people who use Python for their first time, it's usually hello world that they put. For me, I'm putting welcome to data professionals to welcome you to the channel if this is your first time coming to the channel. Even if it's not your first time, you are welcome. You come here to the repository, and then from your end it's going to ask you to download the GitHub repository. So once the download is over, it will now show like mine like this. So now you can go to create your own repository. So you put the repository name. I'm going to put Russia and Ukraine conflict. So for the description, you just put a small description of the project. It's optional. I make this repository public. For the license, put mate license, and then you click on create a repository. So now you can see the repository has been created. We have the license and the readme file. So click on code and you make sure you are on HTTPS, and then you copy the link. So you come here, once you are done downloading GitHub here, you just click and then you paste your repository and you click on the first link. It's going to ask you to actually select a folder where the repository is going to be held. So I'm coming here, I create a new folder. I call it Get Repository Russia and Ukraine Conflict. It's asking you to open the folder if you want. So I'm going to open it right now. So as you can see now on my VS Code, I have license and readme file because we have created it in GitHub. What you have done is that you have actually cloned the repository. So next, let's go to download PostgreSQL. Why PostgreSQL? Actually, you can use any other SQL database like MySQL or Microsoft SQL Server, but I personally like Postgre because in my opinion, there are people who will say no, they prefer this or that for this or that reason, but personally I like PostgreSQL. Now I will click on window because I'm actually using a Windows system. So you select your own window and then you start the downloading of Postgre. Once the downloading is over, so you can double click it or you go to your local machine and open the file that you have downloaded. Okay, it takes some time, just be patient. So once it has come, you click on next. Leave everything like this, the repository, leave everything like this. Just click on next, 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 next. So now when it comes to here, the password, this is going to be the password of your PostgreSQL. Please put something you are going to remember because when you will open Postgre, it's going to ask for this password you just put. For the port and the local, leave everything like this. Just click on next. So now once the downloading is over, you just click on finish, right? So for this one, select the last one, not the remote server. Select the PostgreSQL server, right? And then you click on next. It's now going to download the application. So now once it is done, you are good to go. Here are some of the extension of Postgre you can download, but I suggest you don't download anything here. So you can just close the window. If you go to search and then you type pgadmin, you are going to see PostgreSQL is open through its own extension called pgadmin, right? So here is our pgadmin. If you click on server, from your end you are just going to see this PostgreSQL 17. Me, I'm having the 16 because I was using the 16 before and I just selected the 17. If you want to open yours, it's going to ask for the password. Put the same password you put when you install Postgre. Now you are good to go. The next thing we should do is actually fill the data with the form, the data. But before, let's go to summary. You go to share project, and then please click on anyone can view submission made to this form. Me, I'm putting this because I want you to be able to see this project. That's why I'm ticking those two boxes. But for private company, it is usually advised not to click it for people not to watch your data. Okay. So I'm going to create a new file in VS Code. I'm going to call it .env. What is .env? It's actually the credential. So as you can see, the icon of a setting is on that file. Is to show that VS Code actually understand it as such. So now for the Kobo username, please just go to Kobo and then you check your username as I just did. For this one, the name of the Kobo is, my Kobo name is Abosolo Atiba Abbas. From your end is going to be the name you put when you created the Kobo account. Now for the password, I'm putting these passwords. I'm leaving it open for you to see so that you can actually be able to also access this same SQL, this form actually, right? So I'm supposed not to show it to you, but I want you to be able to make submission. I want you to be able to actually fetch this particular data set that I'm putting. That's why I'm showing you my passwords and the username. Okay. So but you can put your own password, your own username, and then you can put your own details. So I'm in schema now, right? I'm creating a new schema. I'm putting the name Russia and Ukraine conflict. What is a schema? A schema is more or less like a folder into your PostgreSQL. So if you have various sources of data and you don't want them, all of them to be in the same folder or the same schema, you can create schema for each data source. It depends on you. It depends on you, sorry. So yeah, I'm going to change the name. Let me put the name war so that we know that it's actually about war. So, and there's no table in my schema, right? So the table will come from Kobo. That's why I don't create any table. So if you click, you right click on the PostgreSQL and then you go to property, and then from property you go to connection. You are going to see the host name of your Postgre. If you just, when you install, you did what I said, that you just click on next, 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 by default your host name is going to be local host, right? So and for the port is going to be this same 5432. So these are default actual numbers, right? So for everybody is going to be the same. I mean, if you just clicked on next as I suggested. For the username of your Postgre, it is always Postgres, right? Okay. So what am I doing? I'm actually telling uh, Python that, okay, every time I'm going to call pg host, instead of putting actually my name or the main name, you are going to use this pg host. So in the code, we are not going to put the passwords and the username. We are just going to put this name we are assigning to those values. What we are saying is that we are saying, for example, pg password equals to, I put the password. So for the code, I'm not going to put the password. I'm going to put pg password because as Python will now understand that pg password is equal to my password. And I'm doing all this in the .env because I'm going to make this .env invisible for people to see our credential, right? So the next file I create is the pipeline.py. Py means Python. It's a Python file. And then I also create this requirements.txt. What does it mean? You have to install libraries, right? And then if you don't know what library to install, just install this requirement.txt file I am putting. You are going to install request, panda, numpy, everything that is going to be needed for you to successfully follow along this project. So what you should do, you should click on terminal, new terminal, and then you type pip install /r requirements.txt. Just write it from your terminal and then you run. What will happen is that it's going to install all the libraries that I put in the requirement.txt, right? If you are just putting as I am putting, you don't need to do that. That is just in case you want to like maybe use my same requirement.txt. So now let's go to pipeline.py, which is our main file, right? So let's bring the libraries. Let's import panda as PD. We import request. Request is actually what helps you to fetch the data from Kobo. We import IO, we import everything. So just follow along. So, and when you start writing like PSY, so VS Code is going to suggest some names. That is it what you meant here. You can just click on it or you can just press the tab button from your keyboard, right? So I think to make this even easy and simple, I will just show you the code, everything. So I will grant you access to this code so that you can just copy and paste, not to waste time in case you are not actually familiar with VS Code or Python. But of course, it is always good to follow along what I'm doing for you to better understand what you are actually doing. So what I'm doing here is just importing all the necessary libraries. What does it mean? Maybe to read your data in a form of CSV as we can understand with rows and columns, it is going to be very complicated in Python. But people have already created libraries like pandas that helps you to read your data as a CSV. So that's why instead of reading the raw data like what Python understand, we use the library created by people already to actually read the data as a table form, right? This is the panda libraries. So it's same for all the other libraries. It's what we are currently doing. Now the next thing is to load the environment variable. Every time you see me putting the hash before writing something, it means that I am telling Python not to actually read what I'm doing. It is just a title for you to understand what I'm doing, right? So I can just put load underscore dot env, but I'm putting the hash, then I put the load environment variables for you to understand what I'm doing. And also when you are going to push this code into GitHub for people to actually easily reproduce or follow to do the work again, they can easily understand what the code is about. So now we have our loads underscore dot env. We now bring the Kobo credential, right? For the Kobo credential, I don't put again my Kobo username. I just put Kobo underscore username because on the .env I've already set that okay, every time I want my username, rather put this, right? So that user don't see our username or our details. So I'm ticking this allow this submission by anybody, meaning that now the API can actually get the data. If you don't tick that box, you won't be able to fetch the data. Now let's go to data. We go to download and then we tick on, we leave single and separate columns, right? Just tick this save selection as. That means you can save it as. So here you have the option to select only the columns you want to fetch, but I'm going to bring all the columns, right? So I put the name wall. Why am I putting the name? You will see very soon. Now come here, you just select everything /till.org, right? You paste it in a new browser and then you type apy/v2 slash, right? It's going to open this window and then you click on the first link. So now there are lots of information here. So what you have to do is the name we have saved it, you just look for it by pressing Ctrl F. This search case will come. So I just type war. So it will directly locate you to where your file is. So you have three options. You have the first one, which is the JSON file. The second one is CSV and the last one is Excel. So I'm going to copy the CSV link, right? I just paste it here. The JSON file is used when you want the when you want okay, so in the form, if you create maybe a question that allows multiple questions, you can actually get those questions by using the CSV. You want show the CSV won't give you those details, right? But the JSON file will help you to get those questions. But since our form is not having any question that allows multiple values, so I'm just importing the CSV straight, right? So that is what we have done. So for the PostgreSQL, so once again, I don't put my credential, I just put what I've already set Python to understand. So the os.get-env actually helps you to get the data. Okay. So nowadays, if you don't understand something, you can just go to ChatGPT now and ask you to actually explain certain things, okay? Because to be honest, there are certain things that I myself I don't actually understand fully, right? Because when I was learning, they also taught me that okay, to get your data, this is what you need. It's true, I try to understand why, but it's not something final, you get. So don't be afraid if there are one or two things that you don't understand. Just try to follow along and try to ask question and ask ChatGPT. Do your own investigation, please. So I'm just putting the Postgre detail, right? So I'm putting post pg dot slash host slash db database slash user slash password slash port to put the details of the Postgre, right? So now the next thing I'm doing is to create a schema and a table. So I'm not forced to create the schema in Postgre as I've done, right? But I've created it to show you. I'm now going to create the same schema again in Python, just in case someone maybe jokes with our Postgre and then he deletes the database. So I want the code to be able to create the schema on itself, right? Even if there is no schema right now, the code will create the schema in our Postgre. So you can click on table here on Postgre and create a table, but I'm going to create a table straight in Python. Okay, now I'm creating the table name in Python, right? So I'm putting table underscore name equals to, I put the name into bracket. So in fact, what happens is you are just talking to Python, but you just use his language. Like when you put tables underscore name equals to, Python automatically know that you are assigning a name, right? So let me put this. Please avoid special characters in the table name. I'm putting this for you every time you are putting the table's name to avoid the special characters, right? Because if you keep having error on your code, you might be wondering why errors, right? So now let's now break this into three steps, right? The first step is actually to fetch the data from Kobo. Why are we fetching? Because we have already first imported all the libraries. We have actually loaded the credential, both the Kobo credential and the Postgre credential. So this part like this, it was just to set the credential. Now the first step is actually to fetch the data from Kobo. So what happened is that I am starting with print underscore. I open the quotes and then I put something. What does it mean? I am actually saying that while you are doing this step, you put this in what the user is going to say. I put fetching data from Kobo, and then I put 3 dots at the end, meaning that when someone will run this code, this print will automatically show up, right? So when you write print in Python, it means that you are saying that Python just put it out so that people can see, right? So it's always something we do when you start actually fetching your data. So now I am reading the data as a CSV, right? So I'm using the request library. You can see the request is not underlined because I've already imported it from my end. But from your end, if it is underlined, that means you first have to run the after you are done importing the libraries, you run it first. Okay, now I want is an icon. You can just come here to emoji.gb.org, and then you can just download any icon here. So I'm downloading this tick icon to tell the user that actually the data was fetched successfully. So as you can see, to say that the data was fetched successfully, I put the print telling VS Code or Python that actually prints it out, right, for user to see. So after it has printed fetching data from Kobo, it goes and actually collect the data from Kobo. If it was successful, you see I'm using the if condition. The first if is that if it is successful, print data fetch successfully, right? Now what happened, I'm bringing the CSV, right? So for the yes, I think it's important to mention the first way the request imports the data, right? The CSV, it is separated with a semicolon. Now I'm saying that okay, separate it with a comma. Why a comma? Because what we see in a table, actually for Python to understand that it is in a table form that we want, I will separate the CSV file that Python is bringing by a comma, right? Now it will come as what you know, a normal table. So that was the first step, actually fetching the data from Kobo. And for that, I print fetching data from Kobo Toolbox. And if it is successful, you just print the data was successfully fetched. The second step is actually to clean and transform the data, right? So for that, I put my prints. For each step, remember that I ask Python to show something to the user to know what is going on. So I put print into bracket processing data. That means once the first condition has been met, it will move to the second condition, right? So now the second condition, the user is going to see processing data dot dot dot, right? To know that the now VS Code or Python is processing their data. So for the processing, how do we do that? Let's start with the data cleaning. We put our df.columns. Df.column is the frame that we have put our data in, right? When I put df.column equals to, we call it a data frame, right? That means we are putting all our data in one frame called data.columns. Now next time I want to call my data, I just write the df.columns. Python automatically knows that I'm talking about my data set, right? We call it to put it in a frame, right? So as you can see, I've done some cleaning, like if there is space, don't put the space, replace it with the underscore. If there is like this symbol, replace it with n. So this is some data cleaning because I know some people might put some weird data sets, right? So now the next thing I'm doing is actually to process, right? I want to compute a calculated column. So what do? I put df and then I put the name of the column I want to create. I'm going to call it total soldier casualties. I put it equals to, how is it going to be? is going to be the df, which is our data frame, right? df. But I mean, when you use when you start learning Python, they always suggest that you put your data set in a small frame. So you don't put the full data frame, just put something like df. So I'm used to, so you can put anything apart from df, but make sure to be consistent, because now once you have put it, uh, Python knows that df is equals to your data set. So I'm just saying that, okay, total soldier casualties equals to df, meaning our data set. You fetch the casualties, the injured, and the captures, right? You are going to sum these three, those three columns, and to give me that as a result of total casualties, and that is it. So it's so simple. You can do this in Excel, right? And probably in SQL. Just that every tool has its own language. So just learn how to speak the language. And it's simple. Nowadays, there's ChatGPT. If you want to do something, you can just ask ChatGPT that I want to create a calculated column like this. It's going to show you how to do that. And most importantly is to always try to learn every time you get something from ChatGPT or any other AI tool. Okay. So yes, so sometime when it comes to the date, this I've learned it from experience. When it comes to the date, sometime Python is finding difficult to read the date. So I am converting the date to the proper format that Python is going to understand. For that, I just put df, which is my data frame, which contains my data. I put into bracket date to say that I'm in my data frame, I'm talking about the date. Please read this date as data time, right? This is the best way Python understand the date. Okay. So now for the step 3, the step 3, the first thing I do is, as usual, I want the user to know that the Python is actually in the step 3. I put print uploading data to PostgreSQL, right? So first, the condition of fetching the data is met. Second, the condition of cleaning and processing the data is met. Now we are in a third condition. So the user should know that, okay, I'm finding difficulty in this particular step, right? That's why we are putting those print statements, right? So now to upload our data set into PostgreSQL, it is not complicated. So I'm just putting the credential of SQL, right? So the credential are the same. Is you Python need the host, the database, the user, the password, and the port. These are the 5 things that Python needs to know your database. And I just provide the data. The host, I put pg_host. Why am I putting this? Because I've already put it in the .env that, okay, my host, it's going to be pg_host, so that people who is going to view the code won't see what is the host or what is the password, right? Okay. So now maybe what we can do now, let's create the schema if it doesn't exist, right? So once again, here is actually to make sure that no matter whether the database is having a schema or not, we are going to put a form of executing this schema. So I just put my core.execute, and then I put it in a frame, right? So I just bring my create, just write create schema if not exist, which is going to create it, and then you put schema name. You can remember above, I put schema name equals to, I put the value of the schema name, right? So here I don't need to put the value of the schema name again. I just put create schema if not exist, and then into bracket I put schema name. Python will automatically know that I'm talking about the schema name I've predefined above, right? Now what happens is that if the schema already exists, we are going to have an error, right? So what we have to do is we have to drop that table if it already exists, because if you run the code once, it will create your schema and your table. But if you run it twice, it will give you an error because it will tell you that the schema and the table already exist. That is why we put a drop condition, that if the condition is met, fine. If it is not met, drop the table and drop the uh, the schema, right? Okay. So if all this sounds new to you, it's not very complicated. You just need to be used to talking to Python, because I'm sure when it comes to Google Sheets or Excel, you are confident because you have been using it over and over again. So it's the same thing with Python. The more you use, the more you understand and you become familiar. Like practice makes perfect. But I'm not perfect for myself. It's just to encourage you. And now what I'm doing is that I'm now creating the table. So you can go to SQL and then you create the table in SQL. You define all the columns you want. This is one method. Me, I prefer to do everything in a code in such a way that if maybe I don't want to use my database, I want to use a new database, but the same project, instead of putting the detail of that this current database, I will just put the details of the potential database I'm going to use. So it helps because if you create the database in SQL and something happened to SQL, your code is useless. So I prefer to create the form, the table in the code, right? Okay. So now I click on, I type create table, I put schema, schema name. Schema name is the name of my schema. I put the table name like the name of my table name, right? So now I'm listing all the columns that I'm having. I'm starting with ID. ID, as you remember, when we created the form, we did not create the ID column, right? But the ID column, the start and end dates are actually default columns that automatically comes when you create a form in Kobo. So it is good because the ID gives a unique identification to each submission, right? That is why I am making this ID column the serial primary key. The primary key means that this column should not repeat. So if I run the code and then by mistake two submissions are having the same IDs, is going to give me an error telling me that this column, this record you are submitting already exists in your database. That is why I am putting this column as serial primary key. Now for the rest of the column, you don't need to put them under quotations, right? But for the start, end and date columns, I put the quote before I put them. Why? Because they are date columns. If you put start, what will happen is that Python has its own default understanding of the word start. So it won't know that you are talking about your column. Your column is going to read it as the way it understands, right? So that is why we are putting quotes when you put everything that is using. It's not only about start and end and date, it's about all the names that actually that Python has default understanding of those names. You have to put them into quote to tell Python that don't read it the way you understand. I'm actually talking about this, right? That is why you can see the rest of the columns I'm bringing, like the country, the event, the oblast, the casualties. I don't need to put them into quotes because I know Python doesn't have a default understanding. And probably you are asking to know what are those names that Python is reading by default. I can't tell you, just be practicing. Once you get an error, you read the error, you understand that the error is because Python is not able to understand that column. You get to know that, okay, this term, for instance, I should put quotes, right? But for this project, just know that start, end, date are terms that Python actually understands. So I'm bringing all the columns. I'm bringing all the columns to I'm creating them in Python. So we have the civilians casualties. So every time you put the name of the column, you put the data type. For the start and end, it is actually time, because if you check the type, the start and end column, you will see that apart from the date, it is having the time, right? That is why I'm putting as data type timestamp, because it is having the time, right? The time in terms of hour. But the date column is just having the date, like the year, the month, and the day. So for that, I put as data type date for the date, right? For the country, it is actually a text. What is a text? Is A, B, C, D, E, the alphabet, right? If the column is having alphabet, it is a text. If it is having number, it is actually uh integer. Integer is like int. It's okay for Python to understand that it is integer. If it is having decimal, it is a float, right? Float means it is decimals, numbers with decimals values. Yeah. So to ship this well, instead of pushing it normally, I can just highlight everything and then I just press e- ESC, a sharp or something like that. I don't know how we call it, but escape, yeah, maybe escape or a sharp or something like that from your keyboard is going to push it well and align it well, right? So yeah, so you remember that this is how, for those who have watched other projects, this is how we used to do in Postgre. So make sure that you are aligning your code properly, right? Because the alignment matters in Python. If you are pushing something on the left, Python is supposed to understand it. Okay, you are pushing it on the left, it means this. So please be careful when it comes to the alignment of your code. So now the next thing, we have created the table in Python, which is great, right? So now we are going to insert the data rows by rows, okay? So we have created the table. Now we insert the Kobo data into our table because our table is now empty. Let's fill it out. So for that, we use the insert query equals to, you put your insert into the schema and the table. So now what do we insert now? Please make sure that the alignment is very okay, okay? And the secret to align the things well, you just highlight it and then you press escape. It's going to align it well. Escape from your keyboard. I don't know if it's escape or a sharp, but in French we call it a sharp. Okay, so now I am bringing all my columns. I put them into quotes, all of them, each column I put them into quotes. Uh, so please make sure you don't bring the ID column, because the ID column is not part of our Kobo data. So here is only the Kobo columns that we are bringing. Things like the ID, but no, it's not actually about this. The point is, we can actually even bring all the columns, even if they are not like originally from Kobo. But the ID, I don't want it to come. That's why I'm not bringing it. So I'm putting all the other columns as usual. I'm sorry. So you put on the into quotes the terms that might be difficult uh, for Python to actually understand. So for the rest, you just bring them all. You separate each column by a comma. So you are not forced to do like this. You can go to one line till forever, but it won't look appealing like this. That's why I go back to the line. Okay. So what we can do, we have now inserted this part of the code. So I'm closing the parenthesis here like this. So let me put values. So for this, you put percentage s, and then you put the comma, right? You do it several times. Just copy this and paste it there. So honestly, I can't tell that I don't know what it means, but honestly, I don't have a deep understanding of why we use it. When I was learning Python, they also taught us that you put it, but per what I've understood is that we use it to tell them that, okay, if there are new columns that have been added to the form, I don't need to come and tell you that add them, automatically add them without me telling you, right? So generally, this is how I understand this. So now we have inserted the data into our table, right? So let me put this ETL rows. Okay. Oh, okay. So I'm opening the parentheses for the insert queries. So now I'm just going to put row dot get, and then I put the column, right? So you have to do this for all the columns, which can be painful. So what I will do is that I will copy this first one. So I go to the line, I paste, I just change the name of the column, right? This is end. So I just go to the next line, I paste it. So we are bringing all the rows actually into the ETL rows, right? So we insert them in the query. So there is country, date, event of past. Okay, I've already copied the first row dot get into brackets, into parentheses, into quote start. So I've copied it. I keep pasting it so that I just change the name of the column. And you just need to bring all the columns into our query, right? So so for each one, please replace it. Uh, put the comma at the end. So for our numeric columns, we are going to add zero decimal to say that don't add a decimals for them, right? So when we reach let's finish pasting all the columns, and then we will come back and put the zero. Okay, so now I'm just calling all the columns. And there's something very important to know when you are working with Python. You really have to be consistent in whatever you do. So if you have called a column stat and you use minimal letter, please be consistent, because if you forget and you use capital somewhere, you will get an error because it is really case sensitive. So that's why you have to double check your your things. Okay. So I can just add the zero for all the numeric columns. You put a comma and then you add zero. Okay. So I think all the it's like I've not brought all the columns. So yeah, there are some columns I did not bring. Sorry, there's a casualties column, the injured column, and the captured column. Okay, sorry, I forgot them. Why? I don't know. So okay, I think we are good to go. So we can proceed. So as you can see, I have opened the parenthesis, right? I have to close it, but we don't just close the parenthesis like this. So what we have to do is, um, let's come here. So you can see I'm actually trying to align my work with what I'm doing. I've started a 4 rows, right? So I'm making sure I'm under that row. So when I close the parenthesis, it's because I open this core.execute, right? Execute. So this is also where I close my parenthesis. So for the conn.commit, I also close my for in the same line, right? And then I put my cur dot close to close all that rows. Okay, so I think I can now, yeah, let me close it. So I close the cur and then I close the conn, right? So which is what we use above. So now the next step is actually, if everything is fine like this, what should it print? So I put, okay, print, I put into brackets, into quote, data successfully loaded into PostgreSQL. So this is for the user to know that everything is fine, right? Because if you just write a code and then someone runs it and he doesn't even know if it is successful or it is wrong or where it is wrong, it can be difficult for debugging, right? So for each main step of the code, we put a print statement so that the user can know where, at what levels the code is, and if there's an error, where it is that the code is, right? So now, if all those conditions are not met, what should it print? Is the big else. And look at where the alignment of the else, it is on the first line, meaning that the first print I started with. So all the above codes we wrote is the print. Now, if that is not met, what does it print? Else print fail to teach, I said to teach, fail to fetch data status code, right? So now the code, this is like, now this respond to status means that what the error, I'm not the one going to tell where the error is. Python automatically knows where the error is. So it should bring that place, but I just put it like fail to fetch your data successfully. And then it now pops up where the problem is, right? This is to help the user to know where exactly the code is and what it is. I think our code looks neat so far. So now we can, yeah. So before running the code, one condition that should be met is that your PostgreSQL should be on, right? So I just click here to run the code. Now it is running the code. So you can see data fetched successfully. So the data was fetched and then plenty errors. Don't be afraid. It is normal to have errors. Once you are done with a code like this, you will definitely get error. So what do you do when you get error? Just read through and then you will definitely see where the error is. For instance, I'm seeing here that I put the 0 which is supposed to be put for numerical columns, but I put it to territory status, which is the occupy or not occupy column, right? So I'm removing the 0. So and when I check the error, I can also see that the .env is having a problem. Yes, look at, for the database, me I put Postgres, right? Which is wrong. I made a mistake. For the database, you should come and put the name of your database, right? So for the name of your database, so let me run it again and let's see what is going to come. So it has fetched successfully, and then I get an error again. So repository Ukraine, Russia. Okay, so by what I see, I think one mistake is here. So where is it? Yes, yeah, look at the mistake I made. So here, please remove the comma and replace it by the semicolon. What does it mean? That it should rather read the semicolon as it should replace the semicolon with a comma, right? Me, I rather put comma with a comma. This is where I got the mistake, the error. So you can see it's saying database war does not exist. What? I put war as the database, mistake, another mistake. So look at the database. The database is called Data Professionals. If you check the SQL database, right, it is called Data Professionals. So I go to my .env, instead of war, it is rather Data Professionals. So yeah, I think we are good to go. So let me go to the pipeline and then I run it again. Wow, we get another error. So the error is saying there's an error near exist wall. Okay, you can see that the error is near exist wall. So let's go and look for that exist wall. So one thing we can do is that you can copy that and then you paste it here. And when you double click on it, it is going to show you where that thing it is, right? So now I check everything and then there's nothing like exist word. So that means it is not a word that I misspelled. So that means it is about a comma, right? That it is too close. I have to put a space. Okay, there it is. You see, I did not put the space. That's why I was getting the error. So I put the space. Let me run the code again. So once again, we get another error. It is saying that I use interrows. No, it's supposed to be interrows. So let me go there and check. uh, I put interrows. It is placed, it is not interrows, it is actually iteros. Let me delete the N and run the code again. So I get another error. Wow. Okay, so now it's saying that syntax error at or near when I close the parenthesis. What it means is that I put the comma after the parenthesis where I should not put the comma. So what usually happens is that the last thing when you are listing columns or whatever, the last thing should not have a comma. But for this one like this, you can see I put a comma. So let me remove the comma and run the code again. Finally, the battle has ended. So you can see now data successfully loaded to power PostgreSQL. Now I right click and then I refresh the server. You can now see the schema has come and the table has come. I can click on it and click on all rows. Boom. You can see we have all the three submissions in our PostgreSQL database, right? So to test it, okay, you can see everything is okay, right? So let's go to the form and let's make one submission. So this was in Luanska. So I've done a lot of digging to get to know some of these data. I didn't want to put something that when people will see, they will just come and click me or yeah. So I tried to put something quite fair per what I per what I got to know about this conflict. So I don't know which side you support, but I try to be neutral as much as possible because I have my side that I personally support. So yeah, so I'm putting the data. Let's submit. Now the data was successfully submitted. So if we check on Kobo, we can't see the entry, the submission, unless we refresh and then we see our new submission. So you can see everything is how we submitted in the form. So if you click on edit here, you can actually edit the submission. It is possible in Kobo. And you can also actually put the validation, whether you approve, it is not approved, or it is on hold. So what we should do for the data to come into SQL is to run the pipeline again. So I click on run. So you see it ran successfully. So I go to the server and then I refresh the server. Once it is refreshed, if I open the table again in Postgre, you can see that the new submission has come, right? So this is how the pipeline is about. So once the data is here, so we can actually push it on GitHub, right? So if I refresh GitHub, you can't see anything because we have not pushed the work on GitHub. Let's close this terminal. We can go to terminal and click on new terminal to get a new fresh terminal. So what do we do? I put get add, I put a space and then I put dot. It is going to add something. It is telling GitHub that I'm trying to add something. Now I put get commit /m, and then into quotes I put what this commit is about. These terms are default terms that are used to push things on GitHub. You always start with get add space dot. Is to tell that, okay, I'm coming to add something, right? And then you put get commit /m to tell you that this is what I'm trying to commit, right? You put what you want. Me, I'm putting initial commit ETL to extract Kobo Toolbox data, transform and upload it to PostgreSQL. Once it is done, you click on get push. Now there's what we call actually they are branches, right? You can create several branches, but if you have not created any branch, you can put origin main, but we get an error. We are saying that the permission is denied, right? We don't have permission to do that. If I click get push, you see I still get the error. Why am I getting the error? Because GitHub just changed their policy like 3 months ago. So go to setting, you go to developer setting, you come here to personalized access, you go to tokens classic, click on generate new tokens, and then you click on generate new token classic, right? It's going to ask you the password of your GitHub, because what is happening is that used to happen is we used to put our credential, the GitHub and the password account. GitHub has noticed that it is having a lot of people who are hacking your system. So that is why they put this new system of token. So tick the repo box, and then you put a note. The note it is forced to put. You can put anything. Me, I'm putting repo, and then you click on generate the token. This should be unique, right? That's why I'm hiding this, because if you do it from your end, you will get your unique token credential, right? So I'm hiding it because if you use it, GitHub will automatically close my token, because it should be used on only one device, please. So never share your tokens, right? Because if two people use it, GitHub will lock for both of you guys. So none of you won't be able. And if it's for one reason someone hacks your thing, or you forgot your token, you just generate a new one. You can generate as many tokens as possible. Just that the one you are using should be used by only you. If someone else uses it, it's going to lock it. You'll be forced to create a new token, right? That's why I'm hiding my token. So just put let me copy this. So what you have to put is get remote set /URL origin HTTPS. You put the double dots, I don't know how we call this, and then you put 2 slash, and then you put the name of your GitHub account. For me it is data professional 237, and then you put your token, right? Let me copy all this and do it from scratch because there was quite complicated. So I go to a new terminal here, right? I put my get remote set slash UR what do we call it, slash or what? Anyway, this is it here. So you can just put it, you put your database and your token, right? And then once you are done, you can run it. So this is our repository here. If we open it again, you can now see everything we have done in VS Code in our GitHub, right? So, but check in GitHub, you can see the .env has come. So that means someone who has access to our GitHub can see our credentials, which is very bad. So we are creating a new file, put .getignore. Have you seen the symbol that has come? Because Python by default knows that this one is to hide things, right? So now what we are going to put in this file, we are going to put our .env inside the .getignore. What will happen is that our .env won't be visible by people again. It will be there, but the getignore will make it invisible, right? The getignore will be seen by people. This file we have created, people will see that, okay, this is the getignore. They can open and they will see that we have our .env inside. So when you are used to Python, you know that .env means what the file we keep our credential. So people will know that, okay, this guy can hide all the credentials, right? Which is very professional. So this is the only thing you need to do. But when I was learning how to actually build pipelines, so they suggested that it is not only the .env file that we should actually hide. We should actually hide some things like the PyCache, right? So I don't know why we actually hide it, because once the .env is hidden, that is it. But I'm just putting because if maybe one of my one of the people who trained me sees that I did not put it, they can be like, you have not learned anything from what you have done. So I myself, I will try to know more why we are using this, but I'm just putting it because when I was learning, I was told to put it, but actually I don't know what it is hiding. But the most important from your end is that the .env file should be put in the getignore. That is it. Your credentials are hidden. So yeah. So what we can do now is we go to a new terminal, right? And then from here, let's start over again. Now let's go to get rm /cached. So now we are actually going to hide this .env, right? And then we want to push this change into GitHub. So and then we write our get @ignore, right? But actually it's to tell VS Code that this is our getignore that we are going to hide, right? That is why we add this getignore. So now the commit means that what do you want to say, like a comment, write a comment about the change. So let's just say that we are going to add .getignore to exclude .env and other files, right? So that for people who will read through the project on GitHub, they will see each of the the push that we have made, right? So once it is okay, so we can now get push origin main, right? And it is done. You can see everything is done. So if we go back to GitHub and we refresh, you can see the .env has disappeared, but the getignore has come, right? So now user can just see this getignore, but they can't see again our .env. All right. We have our requirements.txt. Now for the readme file is just about like describe your project. What is this project about, right? So instead of writing it there, so let's come and write it here, and then we are going to push it on get again. So let's put the title Russia and Ukraine conflict. So this is actually called, this whole project is a data pipeline project, right? So maybe let's write something like, so what we do here is just describing your project so you can find the best way to like explain or share, give like what, how can I put it, like to sell your project. What is the best way of selling your project, right? So you write it in such a way that first people can understand what the project is about. Second, they might have an idea of what is the output, final output of the project. Lastly, they, and most importantly, they need to be able to reproduce your work. So this readme file should help them to actually, if they follow it, they can easily reproduce your work, right? So not to waste time, I have paused the video and then complete it. I've added some icon to make it more like appealing, right? So even putting the dash, the two dash, it has in old meaning. The two dash, the thing will be like big, right? And one dash, it will be not that big. So it's the same thing with the star symbol that you put. The star symbol means that you should emphasize the text, right? And you can see I've added the link of my YouTube channel so that if someone wants to watch the full video of the project, he can actually access it on the YouTube channel, right? So I'm done. I think I'm good to go. What I do is that I just go and then I download icons and I put them there to make the thing looks quite appealing, right, in the eyes, or to make it look easy in the eye. So once we have made some changes, let's push it again. So to push is the same code we write over and over again. Get at, you put the dot, but now let's not specify what we are adding. And then we put our get commit. For the get commit slash m, we just say that, okay, what we are doing is that we add the readme file, right? So and then once I'm done, I just put my get push origin main, and I'm done. So if I refresh like this, you can see now the readme file is now okay. This project demonstrates a complete ETL and everything. We have a project summary and everything, right? So helping users to actually be able to follow along using this GitHub file. Okay. So now let's go to the form and let's add data. So I'm going to add data, but since it is plenty, I'm going to go to YouTube and find the best way to put all the data one by one, right? Okay, I'm done. So now I've put up to a lot of data right now, right? So you can see that each page here, each window is having 30 rows, and we have up to 5 pages, sorry. So that's a lot of data. So it took me a lot of time to actually go on ChatGPT, go on YouTube, go on Google to actually find out what is going on in this conflict, right? And it's a conflict that I'm I'm actually interested in it. So I just put what I know. Please, once again, the data is not like accurate. It's just me putting, I won't say random data, but inaccurate data, please. So what I just need to do is to run the pipeline, right? The Python code. So when it is run and it is successfully run, so I just right click on the server, I refresh. If I open this again, instead of only 3 or 4 entries, we now have all the 145 entries. You can see it is the same number we have in Kobo. Okay. So here you can scroll down like this to the bottom. So we have the ID, the start and end, the date of country, and we have our calculated column called total casualty. But if we pay attention, we can see the total casualties is actually giving 0. Meanwhile, it is supposed to sum the casualties, the injured and the captured. So that means there's something wrong. Let's come here and check. So what can be wrong here? Uh, okay. So okay, I see. So the problem is that I put as the new column total casualties. Meanwhile, I said it is rather the total casualties that should be the column, right? Total soldier casualty. So I'm replacing that total casualty by total soldier casualties. That's why it was giving that error, because Python was not recognizing that column. Meanwhile, the column having the sum is this column, right? Okay, let me run the code again. So sorry for the back and forth there. I'm trying to make the video not to be too long so that it doesn't look overwhelming. That's why I'm trying to skip some parts and try to go as fast as possible while giving you all the necessary information. So if I run it again, let me check. All right, it has come. So you can see the first row, for instance, the casualties are 12, the injured are 35, the captured are 0, giving a total soldiers casualties 47, right? Everything is okay. So what we can now do is to try to perform some kind of analysis. So you see that here you can write a new query here, right? And you can also close it here. Or if you come back here, you can also press query 2. You can also come to write a new query. This is something which is good to know. So if you go to the schema, you go to the data set like this, and then you click on all rows, it is going to open that. And when it opens that, it is actually a default query that SQL runs. It selects all from the schema war and from the table Russia-Ukraine conflict. We can write it and get the same result, right? Select all from schema war. I put the dot to separate the schema and the table, and then I put the name of the table. I get the exact same result, right? The same result. So what's happened is that uh, all means column. When you see the hash, it's column. So to put the semicolon means that you are ending the query. If you run, it's fine. Sometimes when you don't put it, is fine. And also the structure does not actually matter, because when you see the word is highlighted in purple or violet, it means that SQL recognizing what you mean, right? So it's the most important. So now let's do some analysis. So this is to show you how we can actually use SQL to analyze the data. So let's assume that, let's just assume, let's take a case scenario that you are working for a company, and then you are asked to report every time there is a new, not even every time, let's take like weekly. Let's say you are asked to give a weekly report, right, about the summary of this conflict by oblast or region. So I put the 2 slash to say that okay, SQL should not read those slashes. I mean, what is written there, SQL should not read it as something that affects the query. It's just for you or giving the title of the query. That's why I put the 2 slash. Now let's look at what I write. I say select because all queries start with select. So select instead of all, like all the columns. I don't want all the columns. I want only the oblast column, right? I put it into quotes. You can put it into quotes or not. It's up to you. So and then what I want again after the oblast column is actually the average combat intensity. What happened is that I write A, B, J, G for SQL to know that I'm talking about the average, and for me to know that SQL successfully understood what I meant is the color of the words. You can see all the purple colors words are words that are understood by default by uh, SQL. So SQL understood that I want the average combat intensity. Now, as mean that how should it show it in my final form? I want it to show it as, that is when we use the as, it should give the name average combat intensity. So I am putting the underscore because I don't want to put into quote. So if you don't want to put the underscore and leave it give it a space, you have to put it into quote. So it's a choice. Me, I decided not to put it into quote. Therefore, I have to put the underscore, right? And I should not put capital letters as well. So also I want the sum of casualties. It should be read as total casualties. I want the sum of civilian casualties, the sum of injured, right? So please, if you are not that used to SQL, or if you are not confident, believe me, it is not that complicated. The only thing is that you should find the language to talk to SQL the same way we did with Python. The way we talk to Python is different from the way we talk to SQL. Python we call it quote, SQL we call it query. In this query, this is how we talk. So you should just keep practicing. The more you practice, the better you become, right? So I also want the average percentage occupied. As as I said, means that it should show in my table as average percentage occupied. Okay, what can I take again? Let me take the territory status. So okay. So in fact, what I'm actually doing is that it should give me either the territory status, they occupy, or they not occupy. So it should actually choose each distinct values, right? So that's why I'm using the distinct query. I'm using a distinct concept in my query. And you see it is highlighted in purple because Excel will understand that you want it to be distinct, right? So every time you write select, you write from. From means that where does it get the data from? Get it from the war schema and Russia-Ukraine conflict table, right? So you can see that now I am bringing a condition where the date should be, maybe today is the 19th of April, of March. Hey, what? Sorry, March. So I want the date to be let's say, let's even take like maybe a month, right? Let's take a month. So let's assume that you are supposed to give like monthly reports, right? And we are in a month of so okay, let me say it like this. So where it's a condition, right? Where means put a condition, don't give me everything. I'm saying that the date column should be only greater or equals to the 1st of January 2025. So I'm going to get all the data that are from January to date. Now group by means that it should only bring me the select the oblast column. Why only the oblast? Because when I wrote the select statement, I only brought that column. That is why I'm saying that it is only that column that you should group. Now for the order by, I'm saying that order that data based on the average combat intensity, right? So and then I want it to be descendant. So and then I get my report. So everything looks okay. So let's assume that this is a report you are supposed to send. And instead of that year, like this is only from 2025 to date, let's assume your manager or a client told you that he wants the updated report for only 2025. But an information that can be also useful is actually the sum of the captured soldiers, right? So let me add the sum of the captured soldiers. So this structure of the query, it is not forced to be structured like this. I just push the oblast, the average, the sum and everything a little bit forward to show you that it is part of the select, and I put the from at the same level with the select to show that it is like this that SQL understand. But actually the structure does not matter. You can write all this as one long line, it will still run. It's just for you to, or for people to understand how the query is, right? So this report helps us to have a big summary of this conflict. Now to send the report, you just click here on save. It saves it in Excel, right? But it's saved in as a CSV file. Let me open it. So you can see this is the CSV file, right? So you can highlight everything with Control A. You can go to insert, you make it a table. You click here to stretch all the columns. You can change, like give it a name, like maybe April 1st to date, which is actually the 1st to the 17th. Okay. Because the data stop on the 17th actually. So instead of saving it as CSV, I save it as Excel worksheet, which is actually Excel, a normal XLXS. So I give it a name, monthly summary, and I'm good to go. I just send this report to the manager or the client. Do you see how SQL can actually help you to generate reports quickly? So you can save this query. You click here, it will bring you to your local machine to ask you the folder you want to drop it. I put it here. I'm giving it a name like Russia and Ukraine conflict, right? Query. So I'm actually saving the query, not the output of the query itself, because I'm going to use it over and over again. So if I come to my local machine, I can see the query saved. If I open a new query, for instance, I can just come here to open file, and then I open the same query, right? So I just change the date instead of all from the 1st January to date. I can just put the date between January 2024 and maybe January 2025, right? So now this output is only between 2024 and 2025 data. So this is how we do in industry, right? So you save your query because you are going to generate data over and over again. So now let's see how to back up. You can back up the schema, the word schema. You can also back up the entire database, or you can back up the only table, right? But for this project, I'm going to back up the entire database. So I right click, I go to backup. I select where I want the backup to go, right? So let me go to where I'm doing this project. I create a new folder, I call it backup. So make sure you select SQL backup file, please, not SQL. So once you have selected the format or the type, you give the name of the backup. So the most important is actually putting the year or the date, not actually the year, the date. So why the date? Because you have to be able to know that you created this backup like in this particular date, right? So once you are done, you can just go to role name. So you can create a backup for someone to just view the project, but when you click on the last one, Postgres, it means that you are the owner of the project. So everything is okay. So if I go to my local machine, and I'll be able to see the backup folder with the file inside. It is this file that we use to restore the backup in case you lose your computer or you need to share the project with someone. So let's go to the browser and type Google Drive download for PC. We are going to download Google Drive for our PC so that we can sync it with the folder that is hosting the backup, right? So I'm going to stop the downloading because I've already downloaded Google Drive. So you can see here on this small arrow, you see the drive here, you can click on setting, you go to preferences, and you will see my laptop and Google Drive. So let's go to my laptop. You can see these three folders are actually synced with my local machine. So I'm going to go to a new folder and actually select this backup, right? This folder. So it is asking me if it should sync everything like videos, audios that is inside the backup. I click yes, not only the photo, everything. Now you can see the folder is here. If I click save, it is good. Now the folder is sync with Google Drive. So to verify, you can come here, you refresh, you can see this green tick icon showing that this folder is now synced with Google Drive. If you go to your Gmail, you click here, you can see drive, you can open it. Once your drive is open, you go to computer, you will see my laptop. Yours, you will see only one because I've connected two laptops to this drive. You can open your folder and you can see your file in your Google Drive. You can now share, downloads or whatever in case you lose your computer. I mean, if you get your computer gets poor right now, or maybe your computer gets stolen, right? So you can just go to your Google Drive and get your backup, and then you create a new. Once you get a new computer, you restore your backup inside that new computer, and all your data will come. So because I remember that we have added some small information, like we have changed the code a little bit to actually modify the calculation. Let's push it again, please, so that what is in GitHub can be very accurate, right? You remember that we have made some modification on the calculation. So we have pushed it, I think it's fine. So if we go to pipeline right now, let's look at the calculated column. Now it is total soldier casualties. Yeah, it is fine. Total soldiers casualties. So we are good to go. Hope you are following and you are liking that. So now let's see how we can download Power BI, right? So to download Power BI, it is simple. You just click Power BI and then you can download it from here. You just click on Microsoft Store. It's going to download Power BI from Microsoft Store, right? So you can click install on window here, this one. So once you are here, you can just click here install, or you can go to your Microsoft Store. As here you can see here. So you can also download, you can download anywhere. If you don't see Microsoft Store, you can search for it on your local machine. Once it's open, you just type the same thing, download Power BI desktop. You click on downloads. Now it is downloading, right? Once the download it is over, you'll be able to search for Power BI and you will see it, and it will also be as in your desktop, right? In your desk. So here you can see mine might look different from yours because I'm having previous project that I worked on. So just click on new project, right? So let's start over. So what you can see here is that you can open Power BI from your desk. So everything is black because I have set it to be in a dark mode. So I will show you. Just click on blank report, right? So once you are here, go to get data. So these are the various way you can get data, but let's click on more. So here you can see different ways, but click on database because our data is in PostgreSQL, right? So once you are here, so you can see PostgreSQL database. We select PostgreSQL. It is asking for the server. The server, to get the server, right, you just right click on the server, you go to property, connection, and this is your server name, local host. This is the server name for almost everybody who install it by default, right? So now the GB is data professional. The GB is the database. Our database is called data professional and we are good to go. Me, I open and then I will be able to see all the data in that database, right? But for your end, it's going to ask the password if it's your first time. So once you are done, you will see the data. And I'm selecting my war, Russia and Ukraine conflict data, right? So I import it and it is there. You can see it on the data. This is my table with all the appropriate columns, right? So yours might be like this, it's up to you. On here you can see actually the table here, or here you can actually merge columns together and do a lot of stuff. But what we want is, let me show you first why mine is black. You can go to file, you go to option and setting, you come to the option, you go to report setting, to personalization. Here you see I've set mine to dark mode. If yours in light mode, you can set yours to on the dark mode. It's up to you. Now we are good to go. So you can click here, we go to the setting canvas background and we put it this brown. So to see it, you have to reduce the transparency to 0, right? So let's bring a text box to insert. So the text box is going to be the title of our dashboard. So let's call it Russia and Ukraine conflict dashboard, right? We can give it the color black, deep black. Okay, so we can put it as 32 and yeah, everything looks good to me. So let's go to effects. Let's change the color to the same color of the background. Let's select the same brown color, gray color, sorry. You can see now it actually matches with the background, right? So the next thing we can do, let's bring this card, the new card. The new card is having this storm symbol on it like this. So let's select the casualties, the injured and the captured. It is only 3 that it is accepting. If you come here, you can see max card shown 3. If you want to see for other projects more than 3, you can increase it here, right? So for the spacing between the cards, I set it to 0. I don't want any space. I go to the coyote values. All means all the 3 measures, right? All the 3 KPIs. So I'm setting all of them together. I'm reducing the size to 29. I'm changing the color to this orange color. I bold everything, right? So now I can actually customize each KPI. I'm selecting the first one. To display units, if you put no, you will see the raw data. When you put in auto, if it's 1,000, we put K. If it's million, we put M, right? Now for the display units, I can put on 1 decimals value, right? For each of them, I want to add 1 decimal value, right? So now for the sum of casualty, you can come here and you can double click and change the title. This is one way. Or you can come here like this. You go to reference label. No, it's not reference label. No, it's not here. Sorry, it's not here. You go to coyote. I think it's um title. Wow, I'm sorry. It's like I'm forgetting where we set it. Yeah, it is here on coyote, right? This is the name. You select the name like this, you scroll and then you will see this possibility, this thing called label. On the label here, text auto, this is where you put the name. Instead of sum of casualty, you can put, like for the sum of injury, I can just put injured, right? And then that is it. I can put it to 13, I bold it, I put the color as black, right? Now it is above value, but I can put below value. It's up to you, right? Me, I'm going to leave it as below value. For the spacing between the label and the value, I put it to 0. I want them to be close. Now I go to the casualty. I've already changed the name, so I just change it to like 13. What am I doing? What? Sorry. This was rather uh the KPI was changing. It should be down here to the label. sorry, the label I want change the name, I want it to remain casualty. I will just bold it and put the date, the value to 12. I put the label below, I think it was 13 or 14, I don't remember. But we have to be consistent. I will go and check the other one. So the space between the label and the value, I put it to 0, right? So for this other one, okay, let me also put captured, right? I remove everything, I just put captured. So I change the color to deep black. So I put the label below, and then I remove the space between the label and the KPI. Now I can resize it like this. I don't want it to take space. So let me put it like this. Okay, you see these cards, those bands like this, you can go to cart, and then this is the border. Just untick it, right? It has removed the borders. So I think it looks good now. So yeah. So what we can do right now is we copy it, Control C, Control V. We copy and paste. Maybe for those who don't see well, let me delete this and then do it again. You click here, you come to copy, and then you paste it, right? It's what I did earlier. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. So I'm going to untick all the columns that are there. I want new columns for this one. So the first column I want is actually the civilian casualties. I think it's important for people to know the number of civilians casualties. Now I want the sum of the area occupied. The area occupied is by kilometers, right? So I'm going to right click on the table and go to create a new measure. A measure is like a calculated column that you are creating, a unique column. I'm going to call it good area occupied. So what I want is that I want to format the sum of that area occupied, right? This can give me the value already. But what I want is I want to divide it by 1,000, because I want to actually be able to put km, meaning kilometers square, at the end of each value. That is why I'm setting this, right? So I'm multiplying that sum by 1,000. I'm adding the 0.0, means that I want only one decimal values. And then once you are done, add kilometer at the end, right? So let me untick this area occupied and untick this new calculated column I have put that we call measure, right? So we are good to go. We can now see the area occupied in terms of kilometer. So actually, Russia occupies 129.3 thousand kilometers. So let me create another calculated field or another measure. So it's called percentage territory occupied. So I want to sum the area occupied and divide it by the total area of Ukraine. Ukraine is actually 603,700, right? So there it is. It gives us the percentage. And to make it look good, you click on it like this, and then you click on the percentage. So it is showing the value as percentage, right? So we are good to go. We are having our 3 KPIs. So let's now customize it a little bit. Instead of everything, I'm going to just take the sum of the civilian casualty. I want to increase it by one decimal, right? So for the name, I should go to coyote value. I go to label here. I change the name. Let me put like civilian casualties. Okay. So I can bold it. I can put it like 14 as well. I can put a deep black here. So for the good area, I'm going to change that one as well. So for the label, I'm going to bold it. I'm going to for the name, let's give it like kilometers occupied, right? uh yeah, I think we are good to go. Let me give it a black color. So for the last KPI, which is the percentage territory occupied, so I think the name is okay. I can leave it like this. I can just bold it, and yeah, I can just bold it and put it 14. Let me stretch it a little bit. So I found it too big. Sorry for the back and forth, but I found that too big. Let me reduce the size of the label, right? Instead of 14, let's put 12 or 13. Let's put 13. I think it's okay. Let's do that for all the other KPIs. Let's give them 13, because 14 it is taking a lot of space. So same for the casualty, injured and captured. Let's bring all of them to 13 instead of 14. Okay. So maybe something here. So you can see if yours is on the left, you can just center it like this, right? So I don't know if yours is on the left. Me, because I've used Power BI already, by default it comes as center. So if yours is on the left, please center it to make it look more appealing and easy in the eye. So what else can we do? Let's put the label below, not above. Okay, so I think we are good to go. So let's now bring our shape map, right? The shape map actually helps to have a map which is covered by a percentage or something like this. Let's put the oblast or region in the location, and then we put the combat intensity on the color saturation. As you can see, by default it comes for the US map. If we go to the map setting and we check the maps we are having, Ukraine map is not part of the map, right? That's why we go to simplemaps.com. Here you can actually download the maps of all the countries. You just have to know the digit. UA is actually for Ukraine, right? You can see here, if I replace UA by maybe CN, China, so I'm going to get the data, the shape map for of China. So I'm going to put my UA to mean Ukraine. You can see we have the oblast, the various oblast or region. So I'm going to download the GeoJSON file, right? So the downloading has started. So once you download the JSON file, if you bring it to uh, Power BI like this, it is not going to work. Why? Because the way we have labeled our maps, our regions in the form is different. That's why we go to Map Shaper. Map Shaper will change the data type and also change the name. So let's bring our GeoJSON file we have downloaded from Simple Maps. So sorry, my network is quite difficult, but it is coming. Yeah, so you can see the map. You can download the one you want, so you can inspect the value. You can do whatever you want, right? So these are the various oblasts of Ukraine. So if you come to one of the area, you can actually reduce the size. You can, I mean, this one you can custom any JSON file, right? So what we can do, we can actually draw or edit the polygon. You can do a lot of things, but let's click on inspecting. So let's select maybe Crimea. When you see in our data set, it is written Crimea, right? This is how it is written. But in the JSON file, it is written Autonomia Republika Krim, right? So if we bring this to a Power BI, it will not recognize our Crimea. So let's edit this and put the name as it is in our table, our data, right? For the rest, I think I checked and I made sure that it actually corresponds to how exactly it is. Like if we check for Japoriska, right, we see it is the same. Now let's go to export. We export it as topo JSON, right? Topo JSON. Now we have downloaded the topo JSON. Now it is good. Let's come back to custom map type. We go to custom and we bring our new map. You can now see Ukraine map has come. So these skills, if you are a data analyst, it might be difficult and new to you because this is more of GIS analyst work. Those who are using spatial data are actually images data. But I think it's quite a good skill to also learn. So for companies, they either use drone to fly the area and get the image, and then they develop the JSON file like this. But since we can't get it, we need the imagery, the satellite image, right? And then that simple map help us to get all the GeoJSON files of all the countries. So now I'm changing the color to red because I want to see that it is war. And for the color saturation, instead of the sum, I put average because it's actually the average of combat intensity that we want. So the greener the region, the higher the intensity of the fight, right? So now you can see that we have now all the region, and then we can see the average intensity combats for each oblast or region. So I'm going to actually modify the title. So I go to general and title, and I'm changing everything. So to me, I'm not saying it is very easy, but I'm saying that the fact that I've been creating dashboard makes this less difficult to me. And it's going to be the same for you. Just keep practicing. This is just to encourage you, to motivate you. So the next chart we want is actually to get another map, but a map for to get the region that are currently occupied by Russia in Ukraine, right? So for that, we can just copy. We can just copy this map like this. You click on it, Control C to copy, and then Control V to paste. So this is the map, but the main map, I want it to be this average combat intensity by oblast or region. That's why I'm putting it to be quite big. So I'm going to reduce this map a little bit until it reaches half of the first map. Okay, and the first map is taking half of the whole sheet, right? So I always want to leave some small space between each chart. I mean, this is the design I'm trying to put. So I'm going to remove the combat intensity. I leave the oblast. I'm rather going to put the percentage occupied, and then I right click on it. I go to put average. So now you can see the average percentage occupied, but it's not accurate because it is filtering for all the oblast. And then in the data set, there's a column called territory status. It says whether the territory is occupied or not, right? If I come to the table here, you can see that the territory status is having only two values, occupied or not. And I want to see only the occupied area. Okay, so now it is done. We have only the occupied area and their average percentage occupied. We can see that Crimea is occupied 100%, and then the rest is like 88, 90 or so. So once again, this data is not the real situation of the field. I just put data like that, not also like that, but I watched some YouTube videos of what is going on there, and then I put data that I think reflects what is going on the field. If you have more details, please, okay, I don't, it depends on you. You can actually make submission, and then you refresh the dashboards, the new data you have put will come. Okay, so let's create a new chart. Now let's go to this uh, this bar chart. Okay, so let's bring the event, we put it in the axis, and then we put the event again in the x and y axis, and we put the country in the legend. Legend means that it's going to divide it by country. So let's go to the data label, we tick it so that we can see the label, right? So now for the value of the label, let's bold it and then we increase it to maybe 10. No, maybe let's leave it to 9. Okay, so for the bar, these are the bar like this. No, let's start with the grid line. Let's turn off the grid line, right? We don't want them. So for the bar now, let's click on it and then we change the color. Not for all, let's start for Russia. So since Russia is seem to be like the bad guy, let's give him the red color, right? To say that this represents Russia. Yeah. So for Ukraine, people tend to say that they are the good in the story. So let's give them the green color, right? So now we go to the legends. You can see the legend shows that, let's turn off the value. No, sorry. The title for the y-axis, which is which is the title. Let's just turn off the title, the count of events or event. Let's turn them off. But for the x-axis, even the value, let's remove the value of the x-axis. So now let's just find a way to make this look appealing, right? Because the purpose of the dashboard is for people to see at a glance what is going on. But believe me, it is also important that it's quite easy in the eyes, right? It helps a lot. So now for the next chart, we can just bring, no, let's start for the count. Look at the title. Let's change the title to event breakdown, right? Because it is breaking down each event, the drone strike, the artillery bombardment and stuff. The red is for the Russia and the green is for Ukraine. For the drone strike, you can see Ukraine has 14, Russia has 14 and Ukraine 16. For the value of the y-axis here, so let me stretch this a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find a way to make all this look appealing, right? So maybe we can, okay, the more you stretch, the better, because you can see the full text, right? The full event. But if we do like that, what about the next, the other chart? So maybe let's squeeze it a little bit like this. Maybe like this is okay. So guys, what happened is that when you are the one creating the dashboard, it is, you are looking for a way to make it appealing so you can, play around it. So let's bring a line chart. For the line chart, we want the total soldier casualties, and then you tick on the date. Now for the date, you can see that when we delete everything and we leave only the year, we can see that the year is on continue, right? Let's rather put it on categorical. Categorical is going to give our normal year, right? Now let's bring the country to the legend so that we see the line chart for each country. So as you can see in the legend, the light blue is actually Russia, and then the Ukraine is the deep blue or the purple. So let's go to the legend. Let's go to the title before. Instead of calling it sum of total soldiers like this, let's just call it yearly total soldier casualties trends. Because what the total casualty, let's remember that it is a combination of both the casualties, which are the soldiers, the injured, the captured. So the total soldier casualties is actually the sum of casualties, injured and captured soldiers, right? So we can see that if we go to the line, instead of all the line, let's start with the Russia line. Since we have started Russia in red, so let's just take the same rate. This is it here. So I'm taking the same rate, and let's go to Ukraine. Let's give the green, because let's remember, when you create dashboard you have to be consistent. Now for the width of the line, I'm going to increase it to 6 or 5. Let me put 5. So let me do the same for Russia. So I'm going to increase the width to 5 so that the line can be seen clearly. So I hope you are seeing what I'm doing. I'm trying to be consistent in terms of coloring, right? So for the y-axis, I put it deep, and then I can remove the title. And what can I do again? So let's go to the y-axis. Sorry, the first one was the x-axis. The value is there. I can bold it for people to see it well. I can remove the title, that sum of total soldiers casualties. So let me remove it. And what's something else we can do is okay, for the grid line, I don't know if we can leave it or not, but anyway, we can leave it. For the data label, we can tick it. We can decide to have the data label, right? If we click on series label, it just shows the label at the end of the line chart, right? But now we want the marker. The marker are just the point at each year, right? For each year you see you have a marker. Let's tick the data label. Let's go to value. We bold that value for the label, right? Let's leave it to 9. So I think it looks good in my opinion. We can see actually the yearly total soldier casualties trends, right? But maybe let's reduce this a little bit, this events breakdown. So I'm trying to find the best way to make all these charts actually, to put to make them look easy in the eyes. So what if I push like this? Okay, I can push it like this a little bit. Okay, cannot go again. Okay. So, okay. So I think it looks good. So we can stretch this like this and then reduce the size. So now we can now just bring our last chart. Let's bring this column chart, right? So this one, what we need to do is actually to bring our, let's bring the combat intensity, right? We put it in the y and x axis. It's going to give the distribution of uh, each count. So let's select, instead of the sum, we put the count. So it is counting each combat intensity and see the frequency, right? So to see it well, let's right click on combat intensity. We go to new group. Let's group them by 1. The bin size should be 1. So like for, if there's one maybe point at 0001 and another one at 1, is going to breed them as one, like one bar, right? So you can see if we get the sum, it's almost the same thing like count, but let's get the count of combat intensity by actually combat intensity, right? It looks crazy, but the idea is, here is continuous. Let's put, if we put on categorical, we are still going to get the same value, but let's put it on continuous. Like when let's remember that the combat intensity is from 1 to 0, right? So 10 means that the intensity was very high. 1 means that the combats are just light, right? So now we can see that when the average combat intensity is 8, almost all the fights are having the average intensity at 8. So in general, we can say that combat in terms of intensity is around 8 out of 10, right? You can see the 8 is quite high, more than the rest, right? So this can be part of the average combat intensity. So just let's give it a color, right? We bold everything for the label. Okay, we can give it 16 for the label. So for the column like this, let's change the color because it's about war, people are dying. So let's give it a red to show that it is danger, yeah. So I think it looks good in my opinion, right? So what else we can do is to change the title. Let's call it combat intensity. uh, let me delete this one. This is the distribution of the combat intensity, right? So let's call it combat intensity distribution. To see the distribution of the combat intensity, let's reduce the size to 13. So yeah, now it looks good, right? So now what we can do is for this combat intensity distribution, let's make sure that we inform the viewers that the range the scale is actually from 1 to 10, right? It's on a 1 to 10 scale, right? Okay, so that the viewer can know that when it is 10, that means it is extreme. That means the killing is, the fight is so huge. So now let's put our filter. Let's click on the filter this thing and we bring the country. So we have the country, the filter for the country. So we want it as a drop down, not as actually those big boxes. So we can select, if I select Russia or Ukraine, you can see how the dashboard automatically changes. So I'm trying to make it to best fit our dashboard, right? So and one of the things we can do is to go to the value. Let's bold the value so that the value can be seen very well. For the slicer header, let's also bold it, right? So now to make the this thing to, oh no, it's not here, the slicer to actually best match the dashboard, let's go to general, right? We click on the slicer, you go to no, it's not here. You go to general, you go to effects, and then you change the color to the same color with the background dashboard, right? So now it best matches the dashboard. So yeah, so that is one. We can create another one, or we can just copy and paste this slicer so that we just change the value, but the settings are going to be the same. Now instead of the country, I'm going to bring the oblast. So now these are the various oblasts or regions of the country. So you can select, you can filter the dashboard by oblast, right? So yeah. So now let's bring the event. The events are the various events that happen, either annexion, artillery bombardment, drone strike, cyber attack, encirclements, missile launch. There are lots of events that happen, that took place, right? So the user should be able to filter the dashboard based on the event. If you want to see maybe only the bombardment, he can view it, right? So so the last thing we can bring is actually the date, right? But for the date, as you can see, this I can't copy and paste this slicer because the date will come as only the weeks. So the week. So we should not bring it like that. We should bring a new slicer, right? This title is too big. Let's give it 28. Please let's change the size of the title to 28 so that we can have some free space for the date. So let's bring a slicer and we bring our date. So the date by default comes as between. You will see what is between. So actually between is like we have the start date and the end date. So you see when I put it like this, it's too big. Even if I reduce, it will still be big, right? So we have to create space for this date. So where can we put it? Let's find the best place to put. So why is it so okay, listen. So when you are creating a dashboard there, the dashboard should not be overwhelming. I mean, when you look at it like this, it likes too much information together. So it even becomes overwhelming for the eyes, right? So for that thing you are bringing should actually matches and best fit with your dashboard, right? Because what we also want is that the dashboard should convey as much information as possible. So you should put a lot of information, but those information should actually match the dashboard. That is why when you create a dashboard, you try to find the best type of visual. Like for this slicer, I'm looking for the best one. Is it a drop down? Is it a relative type? No one is telling me, but I am trying to find out what is the best actually type of slicer, option of slicer for this dashboard. So definitely the between is the best. So you can see it is actually not matching the dashboard very well. If I remove the header, for inside the slicer header, it start becoming okay, right? Start becoming okay. uh, but so yeah, let me reduce the event a little bit. Okay, all right. So I think in my opinion it looks good. So so you don't hesitate to play around it. So if you want, there's another way of, that you think is the best way we can actually put these slicers. So it's up to you. You can actually adjust it from your end. So the end date is like the start date is like, when do you want the filter to start? I can say start in January 2025, right? And then it ends on the end date. So you can select the end date. If the date is not clickable, it means that there is no value for that date. This is how we actually use this date. But when you want to unselect, we don't have the possibility to unselect. So for that, we are forced to bring our header again, because the header comes with one button that helps you to actually unfilter. There's no way. It's not there. So unless I bring our, so let me come back a little bit. Let's undo. Undo is just, let me delete everything again and start over. Sorry. So let me bring the date, and then I cover that line. The line can also help you to actually filter, but I'm going to leave it like this. So for the date, I'm going to bold it. I'm going to actually change the color to gray to best match the background, the dashboard background. So now you can see, if I select only maybe 2025 from, I don't know, April, I can see only April's data, right? And if I'm done, I can click this eraser here button. It will just wipe everything, right? So I think we are good to go. So the dashboard, in my opinion, now looks good. So everything is clickable, everything is interactive, right? So if you only click on an oblast or maybe an event, you can see all what's happened for that particular filter. So what we can now do is maybe have a last check and see if there's something we need to modify. So everything looks good to me. So even the charts are interactive. You can click on one particular thing, you will see the whole dashboard changing. So what we can see here is actually the KPIs. We can see the casualty, injured, captured, civilian casualties, kilometers occupied, percentage territory occupied. We can see the average combat intensity by region. We can see the average percentage occupied by oblast. We can see the event breakdown. We can see the combat intensity distribution. We can see the yearly total soldiers casualties trends, right? So in my opinion, this dashboard is conveying a lot of information that any person can actually have an overview of what happened in that crisis, right? In that conflict. So let's go to file. We go to save as. So we are going to save this dashboard in our local machine, right? So it is ask, you can click here, you go, it asks for the file. Where do you want to save the project? I'm going to create a new folder called dashboard. So I'm going to give the name Russia and Ukraine conflict dashboard. So it's going to be the name of the dashboard, right? Now it is saved in our local machine. I can send this file to you. If you open it from your end, you will see the exact thing. Me, I've already signed in to Power BI. That is why if I click on publish, because I'm going to publish this dashboard online, it automatically connects with my account. But if you don't have an account, kindly create one. And you can only create an account using a school ID, something like this, or a company email address. If you have a school email address, yes, you can create, else you can't. I'm sorry. So me, I've already connected, so I just click on publish. So once it is published, always click on that first link. When you click on the first link, because it's been a while, it is asking me to verify my account, right? Because this is a school account. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab my phone. So I'm saying, okay, now you can send me an image and a message of, actually, with a code. I received the message, I'm just putting that code. So this can only be possible if you have already signed into Power BI. And once again, if you have a normal Gmail address, you won't be able to create an account. That is too bad with Power BI. Unless you have a paid version of Power BI, or if you don't have the paid version, you need a school account, right? To be able to create an account with that school account. But for Tableau, it's quite straightforward. Any account can create an account. So I'm good to go. Now, what is going on is that Tableau is pushing my local work into the web, right? Now, it has confirmed my number. So it's asking me if it should keep using this number. I say yes, keep using this number. So now this is my work on Power BI, but it is not yet online. This is not online. This is like the state where your dashboard goes before going online, right? So everything is still interactive over here, as you can see. Everything is interactive. So you can actually keep using the filter. Um, yeah, you see the filter, everything works, but still the dashboard is not yet published. If you want to publish the dashboard now, you have to go to file to in order to get the link of this Power BI dashboard. So remember, for the free version, as I am using, it is your data, your dashboard is not secure, man. So you will better go for the paid version. If it is a company data set, don't use the free version, because people can actually access this dashboard if you are using the free account. And also, with this dashboard, you see it looks good, but there is no possibility to refresh, right? That is why people go for the paid version, because they want to have the capacity to refresh the dashboard and for the dashboard to be actually private. So I'm going to embed. I'm going to now generate the link of this dashboard. So I click on this first one, the link to send by email. Now, if I send you this link like this, boom, and you open it from your end, this is how you are going to see. This is now what you see. the dashboard is online from here, right? So this is now the link that you share in your company or you share with the client for them to actually access the dashboard. But remember, everything is true, everything remains interactive, but the limitation is that almost everybody can access this dashboard first, so it is not private. So please don't use company dataset for the free version of Power BI. Secondly, you see the filters are there, you can filter, but you can't actually refresh the dashboard. I hope you have enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for coming. Leave a comment, subscribe to the channel to keep receiving such wonderful projects. And if you need the final version of this project, just send me an email. I will send them to you.